On a cold December day in 1872, a British brig spotted an abandoned ship drifting aimlessly in the Atlantic. The sails were intact, the cargo untouched, and the crew's belongings undisturbed. But the crew of the Mary Celeste had vanished. No signs of struggle, no answers, just an empty ship adrift in an ocean of mystery. What happened to the Mary Celeste? The truth may be more chilling than you think. In the fog-laden harbor of New York, November 1872, the Mary Celeste stood proud and tall, her wooden hull gleaming with fresh paint and promise. But few knew the vessel's troubled past, a history that whispered of ill fortune and mysterious occurrences. Born in 1861 as the Amazon, she seemed cursed from the start. Her first captain perished mysteriously on her maiden voyage. Strange accidents plagued her early years, compelling her owners to rechristen her as the Mary Celeste, hoping to wash away the shadow of misfortune that clung to her timbers. Despite her haunted beginnings, the Mary Celeste was a magnificent sight. Her two masts reached toward the heavens like ancient tree sentinels, her sturdy brigantine frame built to withstand the ocean's fury. She represented everything a sailor could dream of: adventure, prosperity, and the endless horizon of possibility. Captain Benjamin Briggs stood at her helm that fateful morning of November 7, 1872. A respected mariner with years of experience etched into his weathered face, Briggs had chosen his crew with meticulous care. 7 seasoned sailors, each man carefully selected for their expertise and reliability. But this voyage was different. For the first time, Briggs had brought along his beloved wife Sarah and their precious 2-year-old daughter Sophia. Below decks, carefully stowed in the cargo hold, lay 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol bound for Genoa, Italy. The valuable cargo represented a small fortune, though its highly flammable nature demanded constant vigilance. The wooden barrels creaked against their restraints as the ship moved with the tide, almost like they were whispering secrets of what was to come. As the Mary Celeste slipped away from port that morning, none of the 10 souls aboard could have imagined they were embarking on what would become the most enigmatic voyage in maritime history. The gray New York skyline faded into the mist behind them, swallowing the last glimpse anyone would ever have of Captain Briggs, his family, and his crew. Through the misty morning of December 5, 1872, the British brig Dei Gratia sailed the waters near the Azores. Captain David Morehouse peered through his spyglass at a peculiar sight. A vessel moving erratically in the distance, her sails tattered but still catching enough wind to push her through the endless waves. As the Dei Gratia drew closer, Morehouse's blood ran cold. He recognized the ship instantly. It was the Mary Celeste, a vessel that should have already reached Genoa. Something was terribly wrong. The boarding party approached with caution, their calls echoing across the water, met only by the creaking of wood and the whisper of wind through loose sails. The Mary Celeste floated before them, a ghost ship in every sense, her deck empty of all life. What they found aboard defied all logic. The ship was seaworthy, her hull intact. In the galley, plates still held the remains of an interrupted meal. Cups sat half full, their contents long since evaporated. The ship's supplies remained untouched, with ample food and water for a lengthy voyage. In the captain's quarters, personal belongings lay exactly where their owners had left them. Sarah Briggs's sewing still sat by her bed, needle thrust into fabric as if she had merely stepped away for a moment. Little Sophia's toys lay scattered across the floor, waiting for a child who would never return to play with them. The captain's log provided no answers to the crew's disappearance. Its final entry, dated November 25, revealed nothing unusual. Just routine observations about weather and course corrections. The only sign of departure was the missing lifeboat, suggesting a planned evacuation. But what could have driven 10 people to abandon a perfectly sound vessel in the middle of the Atlantic? Whispers began to circulate among sailors in every port. Some spoke of sea monsters, others of supernatural forces. But the cold truth remained. 10 souls had vanished into the vast ocean, leaving behind an empty ship and an enduring mystery that would haunt maritime history forever. In the decades following the Mary Celeste's discovery, countless theories emerged to explain the inexplicable disappearance of her crew. Each explanation seemed to raise more questions than answers, leaving the mystery to grow deeper with each passing year. Some seafaring experts pointed to natural causes, their rational minds seeking logical explanations in the treacherous nature of the Atlantic. They spoke of massive waterspouts, towering columns of spinning water that could appear without warning on the calmest days. Such a sight might have convinced Captain Briggs that his ship was in imminent danger, compelling him to order an evacuation. But this theory couldn't explain why the ship's cargo remained perfectly secured, or why not a single rope showed signs of such a violent encounter. The vessel's cargo held another possible answer. The 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol in the hold presented a terrifying hazard. Some speculated that fumes had leaked into the lower decks, filling the air with volatile vapors. Perhaps Captain Briggs, fearing an imminent explosion, ordered everyone into the lifeboat, planning to trail behind the Mary Celeste at a safe distance until the danger passed. But if this were true, why would such an experienced captain abandon a seaworthy vessel? And what fate befell the lifeboat that no trace of it was ever found? A more mundane yet equally puzzling theory emerged from the ship's bilge pumps. Investigators discovered them in questionable condition, leading some to suggest that rising water levels might have triggered a premature abandonment. Yet the ship's hull remained sound, and her bilges held only the expected amount of seawater. The Mary Celeste was nowhere near sinking when she was found. Darker theories circulated through waterfront taverns and shipping offices. Whispers of mutiny echoed among maritime circles, suggesting that something sinister had occurred among the crew. But those who knew Captain Briggs scoffed at such notions. His careful selection of trustworthy sailors and the presence of his beloved family aboard made such violence seem implausible. Moreover, no signs of struggle marked the ship's deck or cabins. Tales of piracy surfaced, yet they too failed to withstand scrutiny. The ship's valuable cargo remained untouched. Sarah Briggs's jewelry still lay in her cabin. The ship's modest supply of money sat undisturbed in the captain's quarters. What pirates would board a vessel only to take its crew and nothing else? As rational explanations failed to satisfy, darker legends began to take root in the public imagination. Sailors spoke in hushed tones of massive sea creatures, giant squids with tentacles capable of plucking humans from a ship's deck or dragging an entire lifeboat into the abyss. Those who remembered the vessel's troubled history as the Amazon whispered of ancient curses following the ship across the oceans, finally claiming their due in that lonely stretch of Atlantic water. The location of the ship's discovery spawned its own mystical theories. Decades later, when writers began crafting tales of the Bermuda Triangle, they would point to the Mary Celeste as evidence of supernatural forces lurking in Atlantic waters. Though the ship was found hundreds of miles from the triangle's borders, its ghost story became entangled with those waters' sinister reputation. Perhaps most unsettling were the reports from subsequent crews who sailed the Mary Celeste after her recovery. They spoke of inexplicable noises in the night, the phantom sound of a child's laughter echoing through empty corridors, the muffled voice of a woman singing lullabies in vacant cabins, and the steady footsteps of an unseen captain pacing the deck in the darkest hours before dawn. The true fate of the Mary Celeste's crew remains locked in the depths of maritime history, a reminder that even in an age of scientific enlightenment, the sea holds secrets that defy rational explanation. Their disappearance stands as a chilling testament to the ocean's ability to create mysteries that haunt our collective imagination for generations to come. Years after the Mary Celeste's discovery, a startling revelation emerged during a detailed examination of the cargo manifests. 9 of the alcohol barrels were found completely empty. Their contents somehow vanished during that fateful voyage. This seemingly minor detail would unlock what many consider the most plausible explanation for the crew's disappearance. In the depths of the cargo hold, those 9 wooden barrels held a deadly secret. The denatured alcohol, when exposed to air, could create an invisible but lethal vapor. Scientists studying the case realized that changes in temperature and pressure could have caused these barrels to expand and contract, forcing their seams to temporarily separate. Picture the scene on that November morning. Captain Briggs, perhaps conducting a routine inspection of the cargo hold, notices an unusual smell. The experienced sailor would have recognized the danger immediately. In the confined space below deck, alcohol vapors could create an explosive atmosphere, turning the entire ship into a floating bomb. But nature played a cruel trick that day. The same weather conditions that might have caused the Barrles to leak could also have created a pocket of deadly air, invisible yet terrifying to the experienced crew. The vapor would have risen through the ship like a ghostly predator, seeking escape through every crack and crevice. Maritime experts now believe Captain Briggs made a decision that seemed prudent at the time. Rather than risk an explosion that could kill everyone instantly, he likely ordered his family and crew into the lifeboat. Following standard safety protocols, they would have secured a rope between the lifeboat and the Mary Celeste, planning to trail behind at a safe distance until the vapors dispersed. The weather records from that period reveal an unsettling detail. A sudden squall developed in the area, bringing violent winds and treacherous seas. In these conditions, the rope tethering the lifeboat to the ship would have been under immense strain. A single powerful wave or unexpected gust could have snapped the line, separating the crew from their vessel forever. The image is haunting. The Mary Celeste sailing on, empty and alone, while somewhere in the vast Atlantic, a small lifeboat fought against increasingly hostile seas. Captain Briggs, his family, and his crew would have watched helplessly as their ship disappeared into the gathering storm, taking with it all their supplies and their only hope of survival. This theory explains so many of the puzzling details. The orderly state of the ship, the missing lifeboat, the undisturbed valuables, and most importantly, those 9 empty barrels in the cargo hold. The Mary Celeste had not been abandoned in panic or taken by supernatural forces. Instead, she had become the center of a perfect storm of circumstances, leaking cargo, poisonous vapors, and treacherous weather combining to create a maritime tragedy of epic proportions. Yet even this rational explanation carries its own haunting implications. Somewhere in the Atlantic's infinite expanse lie the remains of the lifeboat and its passengers, their final moments known only to the dark waters that claimed them. Over 150 years have passed since the Mary Celeste emerged from the mist that December morning, yet her mystery continues to haunt our collective imagination. Despite countless investigations, scholarly articles, and scientific analyses, we remain as baffled by her story today as the crew of the Dei Gratia was when they first discovered her empty deck. The Mary Celeste has transcended her status as a simple merchant vessel to become an icon of maritime mystery. Her story has flowed through generations like a dark tide, inspiring hundreds of books, films, and television shows. Each new interpretation adds another layer to her legend as storytellers attempt to make sense of the senseless, to find order in chaos. Writers like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle have woven fictional tales around her bones, while historians and scientists have filled volumes with theories and speculations. Yet each new explanation seems to raise more questions, as if the Mary Celeste herself refuses to yield her secrets. Perhaps what truly captivates us about the Mary Celeste is not just the mystery of her abandoned decks, but what she represents. In an age of satellite tracking and global positioning, she reminds us that the sea remains untamed and unknowable. Her empty cabins and pristine cargo speak to our primal fears of the vast and empty ocean, of the thin line between civilization and chaos, between presence and absence. In the end, the Mary Celeste sails on in our imaginations, eternally empty, eternally searching. Her true story may lie forever hidden in the depths of the Atlantic, known only to the waves and winds that witnessed her crew's final moments. She stands as a testament to the sea's power not just to take lives, but to create legends that haunt us through the centuries, reminding us that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. What do you think happened to the Mary Celeste? Was it fear, foul play, or something beyond our understanding? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of the strange and unexplained.